Now, if you're a John Mayer fan and you made it to this video, then I gotta warn you a little bit. I'm not gonna cover John Mayer in this video. But what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna approach John from my musical outlook, and I'm gonna quickly analyze what I hear when I listen to his style. And then I'm gonna show you 3 elements that you can implement to not sound like John Mayer, but develop your power funk style that works specifically well over funky grooves, because that is what I hear and see John do a lot. I'm gonna use this backing track here from, I think it's Elevated Jam Tracks. And this track kind of leans on John's song, Who Did You Think I Was? If you don't know that song yet, then check it out. I'm not gonna play it here in this video because of copyright reasons, but I'm gonna put the link down there in the description. And let me just play a little bit and then talk with you about some strategies that you can use to get John's power blues style. All right, my friends, so let's talk a little bit what was going on here. So pretty much this track, it's kind of like in an A7, A dominant kind of vibe, but you can play A minor pretty much all the way. Like it happens often, you know, you have like little dominant thing, but you're still playing the minor pentatonic. But here's the important part. So I want you to start paying more attention to your rhythmical placement of your notes. And in order to do that, we're gonna get the good old foot tapping going. And I want you to just tap your foot and play some phrases and avoid starting on the 1. That's my only challenge for you. I'm gonna demonstrate it, but I want you to do this at home. And this is to show you how important it is to get your inner funkiness going. Yeah? This kind of like back and forth of your foot or your downbeats and your note placement. So I'm just gonna play some pentatonic licks, and I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 4. One more time. So let me ask you, how comfortable are you doing this? What does your version of this sound like? I don't care if it's less sophisticated, but does it have a groove? Ask yourself that. And if it doesn't, then maybe you should go down there in the description and download my Layered Lead Guitar Method ebook, where you find some invaluable tips of training your rhythmical foundations and all the other foundations needed to develop a solid lead guitar style, especially for blues and rock. Yes, but let's continue. I'm gonna offer you a simplified version of this foot tapping, where we just take one phrase and we try to move that phrase around. Da-ga-da-da-bow, that's gonna be my phrase. Da-ga-da-da-bow, 1. Da-ga-da-da-bow. You notice that most of my phrases don't start on the 1, yeah? So try to play that phrase with me. I'm gonna play 1. And then I'm gonna maybe use different notes. So this type of rhythmical control and being able to play those funky rhythms, basically. Eh? If you don't have that funkiness in your playing, you're missing out in a major way. So go and start and train this. Yes. All right. Let's go to number 2. I call this power phrasing. And what I'm talking about is that you will make sure that you really have those meaty kind of bends, especially whole step bends and more. You want them to sound muscular. How do you make your bends sound muscular? Well, first, you want to bend in tune, because they're never going to sound muscular if they're like wimpy and just go and can't hold the pitch. So that's, for bands, one important asset is you bend up and you keep the pitch. You're not going down. Let me show you the difference so you really understand. It makes a huge difference. Yeah. So if I play like this, you see how weak that sounds? You see, you lose all your power with that, yeah? Instead of train yourself to be able to play power bands. It's not that hard. It just takes a little practice. All right. And the other aspect is actually your right hand. You want to develop a powerful right hand that can set some accents. Huh? So you want to be able to play, really dig into the string. So when you do a band, I can do. Can you hear how powerful that right hand actually is? So maybe you have never consciously worked on those rakes, but I would suggest that you practice bands and approach them with a rake, yeah? And you will see, you'll have a way more percussive attack in your right hand. One little note maybe concerning my tone here today. I'm actually using a copy of a fuzz phase. The fuzzy sound kind of helps me to smear everything together a little bit. I'm losing a little bit of definition, honestly. Yeah? I'm not having the clarity that I usually have, but I find that this kind of Hendrixy smearing tone actually gets me closer to the goal. And yeah, if you've never played with a fuzz or you don't even have one, I strongly suggest that you get yourself a fuzz. The one that I'm using here is a 70th anniversary fuzz phase copy from, I think it's Dunlop. So yeah, I'm going to put the link here if you're interested in that particular one. The cool thing about fuzzes too is, and especially this one, they clean up really well. Yeah? So I got this at my lower gain setting, here volume knob setting. It sounds like a sparkle clean, right? And then when I turn it up, it comes this one little point where suddenly I get the woo, the woman tone. And the fat saturated tone. So you can pretty much play a full set of clean and distortion tones with just one fuzz pedal, yeah? So it sounds like a channel switch almost, all right? Yeah, so that's pretty cool. All right, but last, definitely not least, if you wanna understand John Mayer, you not only have to listen to Jimi Hendrix, but you specifically have to listen to Stevie Ray Vaughan. Because all these aspects, they're part of Stevie's playing. And I would bet my behind that John was listening to Stevie up and down, was transcribing some of his solos, and got much of this percussive power blues style by listening to Stevie Ray Vaughan, maybe also All But King, because that's where Stevie has it from. And without this influence, John Mayer would not be who he became. So in that sense, I want to just encourage you to dig a little deeper and start listening more consciously to these old guitar masters like Albert King, like Hendrix, who also was inspired by Ulrich, and Stevie Ray Vaughan. And then you're going to start seeing the lineage of the phrasing and the style that makes it very clear that no one owns these elements, but they're just shared musical goodness, let's call it that. And you are also allowed to take your piece of that. So copying is nothing bad. In fact, you have to emulate before you can innovate. In that sense, I'm going to play over the backing track one more time, and hopefully you will be inspired and can pick out some things for your own playing from this. Keep on rocking.